So let's talk about this aggravated assault with a deadly weapon case. About 2 years ago, we get a call from a friend of mine who I've known for quite some time, and she calls and she says, "Adam, my husband was arrested just now for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, the deadly weapon being a knife." We're trying to figure out what happened. He's a longshoreman. He works at the port of Fort Lauderdale as a forklift operator. So blue collar job, using his hands, working hard every day, early morning, hours with his crew. So as I'm speaking with my friend, she said, they just took him to jail. He got into some kind of altercation. So what do we do, right? And this is talking about the importance of why you need a criminal defense lawyer immediately after you're arrested. So first of all, what we did is we talked to her, we calmed her down. We let her know that we're gonna be able to take care of everything and we're gonna have a plan in place. So plan one is get him out of jail, okay? We have our client, really the client's wife, talk to some bail bondsmen that we know and just make sure that all the financial arrangements are gonna be set. Within 24 hours by law, you have to go to first appearance court. We commonly call it magistrate court. And that next morning, we were there in front of the judge with the client, and we were advocating for a release on as low of a monetary or money bond as possible. We got that. We got no restrictions, meaning no ankle monitor, no GPS, no phone in, no drug tests, no anger management, none of that stuff, because that's kind of like being on probation when the case is going on. And it has its place for some clients, but not for this client. This client was about 70 years old. He had never been arrested before. He had worked at the port for 40 some odd years. And, he was just a nice, normal guy who showed up to work every day, and he was in charge of his little pod or his group of longshoremen. And what happened is he got into it with the troublemaker of the group. They got into an argument. So as we're talking to him, we get him out of jail, and we're talking to him trying to find out what's going on, and we read the reports and they just don't make sense. It looks like there really wasn't a lot of investigative work that was done. And we're talking to my client, and he's basically saying that, there's a troublemaker on his shift that he's a manager over, and who's always causing problems, always causing trouble, and just difficult to work with. And part of my client's job is to put him in check and, make sure that the people under him are doing their job and they're working hard. So he did that. Guy didn't like it. Guy got in his face. They got into an argument. Okay, not a crime, right? But what happened is, he walked away and was kind of embarrassed because my client put him in check and told him, he needs to shape up or ship out. And he called the police and claimed that my client pulled a knife on him. Cop comes, they question my client. Client denies it, says no way. And they don't find a knife. They don't find any weapons. But what do? On the word of somebody else, they arrest him. And why do they do that? Why in this situation would this police officer make a life-changing decision for my client, of course, not for the officer, but for my client, and arrest him for a violent felony of aggravated assault with a deadly weapon? And one of the main reasons is because probable cause is the legal standard to arrest somebody. That is such a low standard. It's hard to put numbers on it, but it's about 40% guilt. That's all the evidence that a police officer needs to arrest anybody for any crime. And they did that in this case without video footage from the port, which there was, but the officer chose not to get it or not even to look at it. They did so without questioning any of the independent witnesses, meaning the other coworkers in that pod or in that group, without finding any physical evidence of a knife, just on somebody's word. So really think about that you and your life can be changed forever just based on somebody's word without any evidence. So what did we do, right? Did we sit back and play defense? Absolutely not. We immediately went on offense. And I call it criminal offense, right? Just like in any sport, in any sport game, it's always good to really go on the attack and go on the offensive. So that's what we did. We found that there were 4 separate people that saw the incident. and were never interviewed by police. So we had them come into our office and we had them sign affidavits. They wrote out what they saw, what they heard, what they didn't see, and what they didn't hear. They swore to it under oath, and we compiled all of those. And the 4 different people that were there from 4 different angles who knew both parties, had no allegiance to either of the 2 parties, right? And we submitted that to the prosecutor. We went hard at the prosecutor. We told them that basically they don't have a case that they're going to be able to put on. There's no surveillance video that shows this, right? They could have gotten it, but they chose not to. We gave them the 4 sworn statements. We listed all 4 of those witnesses as defense witnesses. There was no knife recovered. So, we really attacked the officer's credibility, and we also attacked the alleged victim's motivation or motive, right, for this. We talked about how this alleged victim did not like our client, his boss, how this person was trying to get transferred, how this person just was not a good employee. He was lazy, he didn't do his job, and he was just, he was not a good employee. And that was there's a variety of motives that he would have had to make this up against our client. 70-year-old man, never been in trouble before in his life. And we put some real pressure on the prosecutors, and luckily the prosecutor agreed with us that this was a false arrest. They dismissed all the charges, and we went ahead and sealed our client's record. So now there's no mugshot online. There's even no record of it at the clerk of the courts or the police, the police agency. So it won't show up on most, not all, but most background checks. So really good result. It's unfortunate that we were ever involved anyway, right? The police officers should have done the right thing, and on this particular case, they failed in their duty. But luckily, client called us right away, and we can act, quickly and actually gather evidence. So that's what we did. If they waited, right? If I didn't know his wife, and they just waited and said, we'll wait till we get a court date, right? They might not have got a lawyer for 30 or 60 days. The charges would have already been filed. They would have been behind the 8 ball. Who knows what these witnesses would have remembered? But the fact that they called us right away made all the difference in the world on their case. So that's just another example of how myself and my team, we help good people when bad things happen to them. Serious violent felony charges, and we took those and we made them go, poof, right, gone in about a month. So not every case is like that, of course, but that's an example of one, where we got a fantastic result for our client. If you ever have any questions, we do free strategy sessions where we sit down, we talk about the case, we break everything down for you. We're big on education, we're big on strategy. If you have any questions, give us a call, 754-206-6200, or you can find us at rossenlawfirm.com.